Have you ever felt that chilling dread, that knot in your stomach, when you suspect something is deeply wrong, but you can't quite put your finger on it? That unsettling feeling that the ground beneath your feet might not be as solid as it seems, that the people you trust, the places you rely on, might hold secrets you're not ready to face. It's a fear, isn't it, that gnaws at you, making you question everything. Perhaps it's the fear of betrayal, or the pain of realizing things aren't what they appear to be. If you've ever felt that, then this story, my friends, is exactly for you. It's a story about desires, about hidden pains, about the suspicions that can creep into even the most successful lives. Before we dive into this tale, a quick favour. If you're watching from somewhere incredible, somewhere far away, or even just down the street, please drop a comment below and tell me where you're tuning in from. It helps us know our global reach, and it truly means the world. And hey, if you're feeling generous, a quick tap on that like button would be a wonderful gesture. You're good people, I can tell. Now, imagine a man, a very successful man who built an empire from the ground up. He owned a chain of popular cafes, each one a bustling hub of morning rituals and afternoon chats. But lately, a nagging feeling had settled in his mind, a whisper of discontent, a sense that something was amiss within his own creation. He decided to do something drastic, something unexpected. He decided to become a ghost in his own machine, to buy coffee at his very own cafe, hoping to uncover the truth. Let's dive to see. David Sterling was a man who lived and breathed coffee. His company, The Morning Brew, was his pride and joy, a testament to years of tireless work and shrewd decisions. But lately, the numbers, while still good, felt hollow. The buzz he once felt walking into one of his cafes was replaced by a quiet unease. He'd heard whispers, vague complaints from customers on social media, subtle shifts in employee morale reports. Nothing concrete, just a pervasive sense that the soul of The Morning Brew was perhaps, just perhaps, losing its warmth. He decided on a risky yet necessary plan. He'd shed his tailored suits, put on a simple, unassuming jacket, and visit one of his busiest locations, the one on Elm Street. He wanted to see it through the eyes of an ordinary customer, to hear the real conversations, to feel the true pulse of his business. This wasn't about catching someone doing something wrong, not exactly. It was about understanding, about reconnecting with the very essence of what he had built. A part of him feared what he might find, a deeper part longed for clarity. He walked in, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee washing over him, a scent that usually brought him immense comfort. Today it felt different, almost distant. The cafe was bustling, a symphony of clinking mugs, grinding beans, and hushed conversations. He joined the line, observing everything: the speed of service, the cleanliness of the counters, the smiles, or lack thereof, on the faces of his baristas. His gaze landed on a young woman behind the counter, her movements precise, almost mechanical. Her name tag read Chloe. Chloe moved with a practiced efficiency, her hands a blur as she pulled shots of espresso and steamed milk. But beneath the surface, David noticed a flicker of something in her eyes, a weariness that seemed to go beyond a long shift. He ordered a simple black coffee, his voice deliberately neutral, trying to blend in. As he waited, he shifted slightly, pretending to check his phone, but his ears were acutely tuned to the sounds around him. And then he heard it. Chloe, thinking no one was truly listening, leaned slightly towards a colleague, a young man named Leo, who was wiping down the pastry display. Her voice was low, almost a whisper, but the raw emotion in it cut through the cafe's ambient noise like a knife. I don't know how much more I can take, Leo," she murmured, her shoulders slumping almost imperceptibly. "Another bill came today. The hospital. They keep sending them. It's like a never-ending wave, isn't it? Just when you think you've caught your breath, another one crashes down." David froze. His coffee, now ready, sat untouched on the counter. He hadn't expected this. He had prepared himself for complaints about management, about pay, about long hours. He had braced himself for grievances about company policy, or even about him personally. But this was different. This was raw, personal pain, laid bare in the midst of his bustling cafe. His heart, which had been beating with the rhythm of a CEO assessing his assets, now thumped with a sudden, unexpected empathy. Leo, a kind-faced young man, placed a comforting hand on Chloe's arm. "I know, Chloe, it's brutal. Have you talked to anyone in HR again? Maybe they can connect you with some resources?" Chloe shook her head, a sigh escaping her lips, a sound so heavy it seemed to carry the weight of the world. "I've tried, Leo. They just say the same things. We understand, we sympathize. But understanding doesn't pay the bills, does it? Sympathy doesn't make the pain go away, it just exists." Her voice cracked slightly on the last word, and she quickly turned away, resuming her work with a renewed, almost frantic energy, as if to bury the emotion. David felt a cold shock, then a wave of shame wash over him. He, the owner, the man who prided himself on his company's culture, had been so focused on the bottom line, on efficiency reports, that he had completely missed the human cost. He had been looking for a problem with his business, when the real problem was with his people. He picked up his coffee, the warmth of the cup doing little to thaw the sudden chill in his heart. He walked to a small, out-of-the-way table, his mind reeling. He watched Chloe. Every movement, every forced smile to a customer seemed to carry an invisible burden. He saw her glance at her phone, a quick, worried frown creasing her brow before she tucked it away. He saw her subtly rub her temples when she thought no one was looking. This wasn't a disgruntled employee. This was a person in quiet desperation, trying to keep her head above water while serving lattes and pastries. A new suspicion began to form, far more unsettling than his initial fears about inefficiency. What if Chloe wasn't the only one? What if others too were silently struggling, their personal battles hidden beneath the veneer of professional smiles? He thought of the vague social media comments, the subtle shifts in morale. Could they all be symptoms of a deeper, unspoken pain, a silent epidemic of personal struggles that his company was inadvertently overlooking? He decided to stay. He ordered another coffee, then a pastry, stretching out his visit. He observed other employees. There was Marcus, the shift supervisor, who seemed unusually quiet, his usual boisterous laugh replaced by a strained smile. There was Lena, another barista, who kept glancing at the clock, her eyes filled with a distant worry. It was like a puzzle slowly coming together, each piece revealing a hidden layer of quiet desperation. David felt a pang of guilt, sharp and unwelcome. He had built this empire, but had he forgotten the very foundation? The people who made it run? He had desired growth, feared stagnation, but he had never truly understood the pains his employees might be carrying. The truth was unfolding before him, not in spreadsheets, but in the subtle nuances of human emotion. He needed to understand more, to truly see the full picture. He couldn't just walk away. He decided to return the next day and the day after that, always as the anonymous customer, always listening. He even struck up a casual conversation with Leo one afternoon, asking about the vibe of the place. Leo, unaware he was speaking to the owner, simply shrugged. "It's good, mostly. Everyone works hard. But you know, life happens. People have their stuff. Their stuff." That phrase echoed in David's mind. It was a simple phrase, but it held a universe of unspoken struggles. One particularly rainy Tuesday, David arrived early. He saw Chloe outside, huddled under the awning, talking on her phone. Her voice was hushed, urgent, and filled with a raw, desperate plea. "Please, just a few more days. I promise I'll have it." He needs the medication, you understand? He can't wait. Her voice broke, and she quickly ended the call, wiping a tear from her cheek before composing herself and stepping inside. David's heart ached. He needs the medication. The words resonated with a profound sadness. It wasn't just a bill, it was a life, a loved one, dependent on Chloe's ability to keep working, to keep fighting. The suspicion that had been a dull ache now sharpened into a clear understanding. Chloe was struggling to care for someone critically ill, and the financial burden was crushing her. His fear of inefficiency now paled in comparison to the pain he witnessed. He knew he couldn't just reveal himself as the boss and offer help. That would be too sudden, too jarring. He needed to approach this with delicacy, with genuine concern. He decided to wait until the cafe was less busy. Then he approached Chloe at the counter. "Excuse me, Chloe," he said, his voice gentle. She looked up, her eyes still holding a hint of the recent tears, quickly masked by a professional smile. "Yes, sir? What can I get for you?" "Actually," David began, "I've been coming in here a lot lately. I couldn't help but notice you seem a little preoccupied sometimes. Is everything all right?" He braced himself for her to brush him off, to deny it. Chloe hesitated, her eyes flickering with surprise. No customer had ever asked her that. A flicker of suspicion crossed her face, wondering why this stranger was so observant. But then, perhaps seeing genuine concern in his eyes, or perhaps simply too exhausted to maintain her facade, she sighed. It's just a lot right now, sir. My little brother, Noah. He's been battling a really aggressive illness. The medical bills are piling up and I'm trying to work as much as I can. But it's just overwhelming." Her voice was barely a whisper now, the dam of her composure cracking. "Sometimes it feels like I'm drowning, and no matter how hard I swim, the current just pulls me back under." David felt a profound sadness. Sometimes the strongest among us are the ones who carry the heaviest burdens in silence, he thought, the words a silent echo of a quote he'd once heard. He looked at her, truly saw her, not as an employee but as a young woman fighting a courageous solitary battle. "Chloe," he said, his voice soft but firm, "I understand more than you know, and I want to help." Her eyes widened, a mix of confusion and a faint glimmer of hope. "Help? Sir, I don't understand." "My name is David Sterling," he said, extending a hand, "and I own the Morning Brew." Chloe's jaw dropped. Her face drained of colour, then flushed crimson. Shock, embarrassment, and a flash of fear crossed her features. "Mr. Sterling. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I never..." She stammered, looking around frantically as if expecting to be fired on the spot. David held up a hand. "Chloe, please, there's nothing to be sorry for. In fact, I should be apologising to you. I've been so focused on the business, on the numbers, that I lost sight of the most important asset I have. My people. You. Your struggles are my struggles because you are the heart of this company." He paused, letting his words sink in. "I overheard your conversation the other day, and I saw you today. You are a dedicated, hard-working individual, and you are clearly going through something incredibly difficult. I want to help you, not as your boss, but as someone who cares about the well-being of the people who make this company what it is." He explained that the Morning Brew had an emergency fund, a program designed precisely for situations like hers. Though it had rarely been utilised, he also offered to connect her with a network of support services and even suggested a flexible work schedule that would allow her to be with Noah more often. Chloe listened, tears streaming down her face now, not of sadness but of overwhelming relief. The truth had unfolded not as a reprimand but as an unexpected lifeline. In the weeks that followed, Chloe's burden began to lift. Noah received the care he desperately needed, and Chloe, supported by her employer, was able to focus on his recovery without the constant crushing weight of financial anxiety. David, too, was transformed. He realized that true leadership wasn't just about profits and expansion. It was about empathy, about listening, about creating a workplace where people felt seen, valued, and supported. He implemented new initiatives focusing on employee well-being, mental health resources, and a more accessible emergency fund. He started visiting his cafes regularly, not as an undercover boss, but as a present and caring leader, genuinely connecting with his employees. The atmosphere in the Morning Brew cafes shifted. The smiles became genuine, the energy palpable. Employees felt heard, valued, and understood. David learned that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in avoiding pain, but in acknowledging it, in reaching out, and in building a community where no one has to struggle in silence. This story, my friends, reminds us that success isn't just about what you build, but how you build it, and who you build it with. It teaches us that compassion is not a weakness, but a powerful force that can transform lives and businesses. It shows us that beneath the surface, everyone carries a story, a struggle, a desire, or a fear. And sometimes all it takes is a moment of genuine human connection, a willingness to truly listen, to turn suspicion into understanding, and pain into hope. Remember, the true measure of a person or a company is not just in what they achieve, but in how they treat those who help them achieve it. Be kind, be observant, and always remember the human heart beating beneath every uniform.